Welcome back, Blues, and once again, no knee-jerk reactions. I have, you probably noticed, I've left it a few days after the weekend, and well, it was Manchester City 0 and Tottenham Hotspur 4. So I've left it a few days. I've let my emotions calm down a little bit, and as per usual, there's no blaming on this channel. We're not going to go into any hysterics. Like I've said many times before, I'm an older Blue. So the period that we've just had was absolutely magical for me. And, you know, there are cycles in football and, you know, cycles come to an end. And no knee-jerk reaction, but I think we probably are at the end of a cycle now. Today I'm gonna try and put forward 5 reasons why things might be going wrong at the moment. Some of them, it's not rocket science, but anyway, let's start with number 1. So I'm going to put as number 1 the 115, 131 charges, whatever you want. The Premier League are basically trying to ruin Manchester City, aren't they? Let's face it. All us Blues know that. There's lots of things come out in the APT case that, you know, the Premier League is run by the red shirts in the Premier League. We just had another vote, so the APT rules now. 1 or 2 clubs who were with City have now switched their allegiance and are now back in the Premier League, back in the red shirts, and all of that kind of thing. But let's not get into too many politics. I mean, basically, at the end of the day, you know, we have a court case going on with the Premier League or against the Premier League, and that has got to, and I've said this before on this channel, you know, players, whether they are on £50 a week or £300,000 a week, they're human beings. And this kind of thing has got to affect them. And I think, again, once again, I've said this before on this channel, I think we've got a perfect storm at the moment. And I think I'm gonna highlight that perfect storm in these 5 points. So point 1, 115 charges. It's actually come out now that 4 clubs in the Premier League, well, at least 4 clubs that we know of, have lodged you know, interest with the Premier League in suing Manchester City when they are found guilty. The trial hasn't finished yet, but when Manchester City are found guilty, they want to sue Manchester City. And I mean, how many people want to get the knives into City at the moment? I don't know. Personally, I think it's quite disgusting. It's probably natural. I mean, as a City fan, we've just won. You know, we've won 4 Premier Leagues on the bounce. We're currently World Club Champions, so we're the best club side in the world, and nobody can take that away from us. But there are clubs who want to do that and want to do it, and in the process of doing it, want to ruin us as a football club. And I think that is very, very nasty. So that's reason 1. I think, you know, that is playing on the players' minds, and, you know, I don't think that's helping. Reason number 2, again, this one's not rocket science. We've started the season off. We've had some horrendous injuries. Rodri, who is the best player in the world, won the Ballon d'Or, and he's out for the season. He's hoping to be back, well, for the World Club Cup, if that goes ahead. What kind of player he'll be in the early stages, nobody knows. Will it affect him long term? Will he be the player that he used to be? Who knows? But, of course, we lost him. And we lost Kevin De Bruyne, and we lost a lot of players, let's face it, you know. Grealish, Doku out injured, centre-backs, we can't seem to get a centre-back fit for a game at the moment. Kyle Walker out injured. So I think, again, you know, as a little nucleus, there's a perfect storm there within the perfect storm, in that we have, which is going to be one of my kind of, you know, next points. But we have an ageing squad. And as players get older, they do become more injury prone. And I think that's a big, it's a big problem for us at the moment. And of course, then, you look on, like I've said before, I'm on Blue Moon every day, probably 3 or 4 times a day I go on Blue Moon. And there's lots of very informed people on there, lots of very positive blues. But you do get the knobheads on there. And the knobheads who are coming out and saying, Walker, he's finished, get rid of him, show him the door. I've even heard, Haaland, put him on the bench, he's useless. All of this kind of thing. You're not going to hear that on this channel because Kyle Walker, again, said it before, we need to be so grateful to Kyle Walker. He's been our best defender for years now, and he's one of the reasons why. You don't just win football games by scoring goals. You win football games by when a ball is pumped over the top or a ball is put through for a quick attacker to run onto. And this is not just, people think this is currently what's happening to us is a new phenomenon. It's not. We've been suffering this for years now. When I say suffering we've had it happen to us because we've always played this high line under Guardiola, and we've always had teams like Liverpool, the Tottenhams, the Manchester Uniteds, teams who have got skillful players, quick players who can break. But we've always had Kyle Walker, and he's always been on the number of goals that he saved us. So, yeah, you won't hear any of this player criticism on this channel. I am very grateful for every single Manchester City player and what they've done for us. So, yeah, number 2, I think, is player fitness. And, of course, then you get to the problem that we've got at the moment is that we're looking on the bench and we're saying, why is Kevin De Bruyne on the bench? We need him on the pitch. Why is Grealish on the bench? We need him on the pitch. Why was Walker on the bench a few weeks ago? We need him on the pitch. Well, I can tell you why. Well, my theory is that they're basically not fit. They're older players. They're coming back from injury. It takes longer to come back from injury. Obviously, Pep Guardiola doesn't want to thrust De Bruyne in 2 really critical games and play him from minute 1. He wants to ease him back in. A young 24, 25-year-old Kevin De Bruyne would have been back playing by now. The age that De Bruyne is now, he's not going to thrust him in. Don't expect to see Kevin De Bruyne starting games. Even though we're in the predicament that we're in, don't expect to see him, for the next few games. Because that would be... what are we going to do? We put him on in the first minute and then after 15 minutes he gets injured and he's out again for another 3 months. Nobody wants that. That's not going to help the cause, is it? I think points 2 and 3 probably blend into each other. But point 3 is we have got an ageing squad. And there's no doubt in that. We can see that, players are coming back from injury. They're not able to recover as quickly as they used to be able to do. So like I've just said, they're sitting on the bench when City fans are... I think a lot of the City fans who are complaining are probably City fans who've joined us in the last 10 years. Older Blues like myself realise what's going on. You've got to... the older players, like Walker's another one, you can't just have him come back off injury and thrust him into the team straight away. You've got to leave these players on the bench and just blend them in gradually. So yeah, point number 3, it does blend into point number 2, but one of the things I've seen recently is a lot of criticism of Rico Lewis. Now, okay, Rico Lewis at the moment seems to be giving the ball away an awful lot. He doesn't seem to be playing with an awful lot of confidence. But then you could level that at the whole squad. And the problem is, he's a young kid. Now, we've seen it down the years. How many... again, I'm an older Blue. So when you had the Manchester United team with... I'm going to talk about Manchester United. When you had the Manchester United team that had Dennis Law and Bobby Charlton... And my dad always used to say to me, they used to bring these young kids into the team who looked amazing. And you're thinking, oh, here we go, another Manchester United starlet. But they looked amazing because they had amazing players around them. And my dad always pointed that out. And that was, the indication on that was that If that player then left United, he was nowhere near as good. And I think we've got the same problem now. You know, when Rico Lewis came into the team and looked amazing, the team was amazing. So Rico Lewis is going to be able to feel confident. He's got confident players around him that are teaching him, showing him what to do. It's no good expecting Rico Lewis to come into this team like we did against Tottenham and him and Gundogan hold that midfield. It's no good. Gundogan's ageing. He's not come back the same player that we sent to Barcelona. I don't know what Barcelona have done to him. It may well just be that he's getting older. But again, not knocking Gundogan, he's been a fantastic player for us. He scored some really critical goals for us, Gundogan. So not knocking him, but he is ageing. So we've got an ageing Gundogan and a very young, inexperienced Rico Lewis in midfield. And it's a bit of a recipe for disaster, isn't it? You know, we need like a 25, 26-year-old Kevin De Bruyne in there with him. We need a Rodri playing there behind him. That kind of thing. We haven't got it. So point 2 and 3 there kind of blend together, but I think that they are fair points. So point 4, and I've not really heard anybody talk about this. So one of the strengths of Manchester City over the last few years, and one of the reasons that we've been successful, unlike some other clubs that we could mention, our transfer strategy has always been, right, so we need an attacking midfielder. And we go out and we buy an attacking midfielder that is Pep Guardiola's philosophy is a nice guy. That's number 1 on the list for Pep Guardiola. He's come out and said this. They have to be, above everything, a nice guy. He doesn't want troublemakers. He wants somebody who's a really nice person. And most of the City squad are that. If you notice, if you look through the squad, most of them are that. They're nice people and they get on well in the dressing room. So we sign somebody who's a nice guy. Then 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th comes the technical ability, whether they can fit into a tactic and a formation that Guardiola wants to play. So Guardiola goes out there and, cheeky doesn't he? But then Guardiola obviously has a massive input on that. And he says, right, we need a player for this position, whatever that position may be. And as we've seen many times, how many times have we said we need a left back? We need a replacement or a backup DM. And there's no secret behind it that sometimes we don't sign them because there isn't the perfect player out there. We've seen what happens when we go out and sign like the Phillipses of this world or Nunes, who was 3rd choice really when, in that transfer window. He was 3rd choice. He's a good player. Is he a great player? Probably not. But anyway, back to, point 4. So Guardiola, the basis of it is he goes out there, nice guy, fits into the formation, tactically brilliant, technically brilliant. Okay. At the moment, for me, why are we not flipping that? Because we've got a squad now. I mean, until January and next summer, we can't bring any new players in. I mean, whether we will in January, who knows? But why don't we flip that? So at the moment now, we have an ageing squad. It's an injury hit squad. So those two things combined, why don't we flip that now and say, right, instead of having a player fit the tactic and formation, why don't we have a formation that fits the players? A formation and a tactic. Drop a bit deeper. Don't have this high line. Because we clearly at the moment haven't got players who can chase back. We just don't have it. Walker has lost pace, and he's probably not fit. Again, we touched on that in one of the other points. He's probably not fit, but having to play. And this is the big thing. I think at the moment we're playing players who are having to play. So why don't we do that? This is point 4. Instead of, picking a player to fit a tactic and formation, why don't we now pick a tactic and formation to fit the players that we've got? Because what we're doing at the moment, we're just playing the same way that we played 3 years ago. when all of our players were fully fit, 3 years younger, and we could play that style of football. Now we're struggling. Kyle Walker has come out today and has said, which is a bit worrying, but he said the squad is massively lacking confidence now and it's going to be an uphill battle. We need to get back on it, can we? That the confidence has gone out of the squad. I mean, a bit of a strange thing to come out and say, but truthful. But if that is the case, then why not play a bit more conservatively? I've said it before. Erling Haaland, we've seen the goals that he can score. And a lot of the time when somebody at the back, Edison or whoever, flirts that ball for him to run onto, he's like a runaway buffalo. He's head down and he's going. He's got defenders bouncing off him and it's in the back of the net. Why don't we do that a bit more? I know Guardiola wants to score the perfect goal. I know that. He wants to have 25 touches of the ball and then a deft little flick into the top corner and it's the perfect. I know that. But with the players that he's got or not got at the moment, why don't we just shift it a little bit? Let's just play a little bit deeper. Let's be a bit more thoughtful about what we're doing. Because the problem at the moment is that we're doing the same thing we did 3 years ago without the players now, without the players that can do it. And once you start coming out and playing that kind of football against teams who are so well used to it now, like Tottenham did, they just kept 11 men behind the ball and then they just stifled us. We couldn't find a way through, so then they pinged the ball, 4 goals, we lost 4-0. Why don't we play a bit deeper? Let's mix it up. Because the reason that teams are putting 11 men behind the ball is because they know there was a moment in the second half against Tottenham. I don't know whether it was Bernardo or Gundo, and I can't remember which one it was now. But a ball was Tottenham were on the attack, and a ball was played out to him, and he was kind of in the middle of our half, if you will, and he put his foot on the ball and just stopped. All the Tottenham defence got back in place and then we started tip-tapping it again. All of this slow build-up, which again, when you've got the players, you've got the technical ability, you've got a 25, 26-year-old De Bruyne on the pitch who can pick a pass out, pinpoint pass. Great. At the moment, we don't have that. Let's play a different formation. Let's play a different tactic. I'm not a tactician, but it's as plain as the nose on your face that it's not happening at the moment. We need to do something different and mix it up. And on putting the ball over the top 9 or 10 times in the game would make that defence think differently, wouldn't it? So are we gonna sit with behind the ball because Haaland's got the pace and the strength. So it just needs to be thought about, doesn't it? And then point number 5, again, it's not rocket science. We obviously need a rebuild now. Whether PSR, APT, FFP or whatever will let us do that. Newcastle are supposed to be the wealthiest club in the world now and can't spend a penny. I don't know what situation we're in. I don't hold the purse strings at City, and some of this financial stuff goes over my head. Having won the Champions League and not spent a massive amount in the last 2 transfer windows, surely, we sold Alvarez for 80 million. Surely we've got the money there to go out and do. We can't do a full rebuild because obviously, we need quite a lot of players, I think, at this moment in time. But certainly if we brought a really good defensive midfielder in who can double pivot with Rodri when he comes back, but at the moment can hold that midfield, who is younger, technically good, strong young legs, if you will, to run that midfield for us. We need that, don't we? We need a right back. We could do with a left back. Vardiol's come. Okay, he's played, but he's not a full back. He's a centre back. I don't know. We do need a rebuild, don't we? Let's face it. We need a rebuild. And whether we'll start that in January, who knows? There are 1 or 2 names being bandied about at the moment. I will be absolutely gobsmacked if we don't sign at least 1 player in January. I think the dressing room just needs a lift. We need a lift of 1 or 2 players coming in to freshen the team up. And, coupled with maybe a change of tactic formation, just play something a little bit different. Why not try Grealish through the middle? That's how he played for Villa. Why not try him through the middle instead of saying, right, stick out wide, lad. He gets the ball, and the wingers, what do our wingers normally do? They get the ball, pull 2 players towards them, play it back to the fullback. It's boring. Do something different. Play Grealish through the middle. Let him run, because he can attract a foul like nobody I've ever seen. Just get him running into the penalty area. One of the things it was common knowledge at the time, but one of the things that Alex Ferguson used to tell his team, that when he had Ashley Young in the side, he used to tell them, if we're struggling towards the end of the game, Ashley Young, get into the penalty area, run into the penalty area, and just try and get some kind of contact and get a penalty. Now, okay, is it a bit questionable that? Well, I suppose it is. Is Guardiola too much of a nice guy to do that? Again, probably yes, he is. But, you don't win anything being Mr. Nice Guy all the time. Sometimes you have to mix it up. And I think that is where we're going to leave this, because I think a lot of the things I've been talking about, mixing it up would be a really good strategy at the moment. Really good strategy. Okay, well, we go into the little matter at the weekend of Liverpool at Anfield. So that's going to be a tough game. Obviously, we've got Champions League against Feyenoord before that. Can we get a win? Can we get our season back on track? I don't know. The team at the moment looks devoid of confidence. And I think we've gone past the point now where you're thinking, a little blip will come back in the next game. If we don't win that one and we lose against Liverpool, then, people will start talking about a massive crisis, and it's going to be quite difficult to come back. Unless we've got the likes of Diaz in the team, who Diaz is a leader, he can grab people by the scruff of the neck and say, right, come on, sort yourself out. So we don't have the likes of Fernandinho anymore. Walker, I don't know whether his voice is being heard for various reasons, personal reasons and whatever. I don't know whether Walker's voice, because he's captain, he should be able to rouse the troops, shouldn't he? At the moment, that's not happening. Okay, well, until next time, Blues, I hope you've enjoyed today's, episode. 5 points there. If you've got any other ideas, or you disagree with me or agree with me, stick it down in the comments, and, we can maybe have a further chat about it, because, I'm all ears. I'm open to any kind of suggestions as to what's going on at the moment, but I think a perfect storm sums it up very nicely. We'll see you next time.